individually. However, we have not mastered the art of doing it as a group. That is the differentiator between us and every other ethnicity or cultural group or a country that's out there who is developed or more developed than us. Even the Latinos, even the Jewish people, the Asians, all of those people are able to come together, work and build together. The only people who can't do that are my brothers and sisters. Let's think about that for a second. Why? We live in their countries. We eat their food because they struggled, they built. Some of us even helped build the countries that we're living in and benefiting from. Yet, we cannot support each other to go back and build our continent. Why do we do what we do? So when someone brings a vision to us, when someone gives us the hopes that we could not think of ourselves. When somebody stands up and says, please back me up, I will go to the forefront, I just need some support in the back. Why would we rather stab them in the back? So I say to you today, for those of you who attended the Go to Black call that happened on, I think that was on Friday or 2 days ago, I have no worries with whatever your subject matter was on there. What I have an issue with were the untruths, the misinformation, the fact that you didn't even follow due process. And I think to use the words on the show for the people who attended and who actually spoke, for the individuals who were on that panel, they said they did not do their due diligence. Due diligence. What is due diligence? Due diligence is when you make sure everything you are doing, saying, and or touching is correct. They did not do their due diligence before they went onto that show. Because if they did, they would have understood a few things, which I'm going to mention to you today. ADDI was created by Dr. Arikana, Her Excellency, as a vision for us Africans. Everyone who works with ADDI is a volunteer. No one is paid to work with ADDI. I am a volunteer. I do it wholeheartedly because I realize that everyone cannot do the work. Few people are going to do the work that majority are going to benefit from. And it's pretty easy to sit, again, I learned the term in America, Monday night quarterbacking. It's very easy to sit and analyze a football game when you were sitting on your couch and eating your chips. What did you contribute? Do you know how the game works? Can you play? What are we doing for Africa as opposed to Monday night quarterbacking on each other? The second thing I'd like to mention today is character. When you go on a show and defame someone's character without having any proof and without being able to submit any proof or receipts, as they call it now, on social media, you've got to be mindful. I don't think ADDI will be standing here if Her Excellency wasn't the person that she was. Hearsay is a beautiful thing because when you hearsay, you don't have the original information. You don't even know what the information is. You're only hearing say. And anything that's not coming from the person or the source itself, it's hearsay. So I plead with you as brothers and sisters, before you go out there and open your mouth and say something about someone you do not know, make sure you have it directly from the source of the information. The third thing I'd like to say, again, around today's conversations, and I'm hoping some of our panelists will pick up on some of these topics and talk through within what they want to say, is everyone on here within the countries and within the communities you live, you do have rights. If anyone violates your rights, you do know what to do with those rights. You file suits, you do what you need to do. Again, that's part of due diligence. If someone violates you and your rights, you are required, and actually it's your responsibility to actually make sure you exercise your right. One of the privileges we have on here is, as citizens of the United States or whatever countries you may belong to, is the right to vote, the right to vote out anybody you don't want, the right to make your voice heard where you need your voices heard. Make sure the voice you're making heard is on the right side and not for the wrong things. You're free to join as a volunteer for ADDI. If you see that something we're doing as ADDI is not working, you're free to join ADDI, become a volunteer like each and every one of us. Help us fix whatever process you think is broken. Her Excellency cannot execute on everything she has a vision for. The other thing I'd like to say is there's a process. Regardless of what grievance or thing you may have, there's always a process on how you address that. Are we doing that? If we cannot take into recognition all of the different processes we want to create for ourselves, how can we trust ourselves to go ahead and follow them when we build the Africa we want? As a matter of fact, teamwork. If we cannot work with each other, if you come to work with me only to pick out the faults I have, we'll never make a team. But if you work with me and give me constructive feedback, I might learn a thing or two from you. So now, what impact are you having on me? Are you helping me grow or are you bringing me down? What kind of teamwork do you want to be remembered for? Donations, which is where I think the majority of things occur. Donations. As a 501c organization, we accept donations. As a matter of fact, there are many people who would rather donate than participate. Donations are a key part of everything we do because, as I mentioned, it's a not-for-profit organization. It's a vision for Pan-Africans and Africa as a whole for everyone to benefit from. For me to be able to help you as an ADDI member, somebody has to donate their time, their money, their resources, and everything they need in order for us to help others. So donations as a key for why we exist. And I don't see why anyone should blame us for taking donations. That's the sole purpose of us being able to help everyone. So I plead with you, when you donate, our process requires that in some cases you would pay for certain things, other cases you will donate. And we've been requesting donations and giving you the reasons why we do that. So I'd appreciate you when you want to say we're collecting your money and scamming anyone out of it, please have your proof that we are scamming you and that we have not solved the problem as you would like it to be. And then chapters, again, I want to end on a positive note. Our talks today are for all of us to learn how to speak to each other. I speak to you from the heart today, not with the authority of Her Excellency. I decided to make this speech myself as a volunteer, as a Pan-Africanist, as an African citizen who comes from a country whose country is going through the worst struggle ever. As a matter of fact, just so you all know, my country is going through elections tomorrow. That outcome, I think, is being anticipated by everyone across the world. And it is a good example of all the struggles that Africa is going through at the moment. So when we work together, we achieve a lot. And in life, they say, when you know better, you do better. So I want to end my introductory note by saying, let's respect how we speak about each other. Let's know what we're taking out to the public. Let's not use distractions to take away from the things that we could do for ourselves. And if you think we're not doing things correctly, please join us as a member of ADDI, and we will join and make things better for you, I, and everybody else for Pan-Africa. So with that said, I am going to call on Mr. Anthony Taylor to talk about our liaison and our community building process for Africa. Thank you for appreciating me and my opening remarks.
Thank you, Sister Judy, for those wonderful words and encouraging words and words that we need right now. And I'm going to come to you this morning on a similar vein because, like yourself, I've noticed, and I want to speak to those content creators that are making these defamatory claims, and they are just sending out a message that is so counterproductive. And I say to them, before you make those claims, get the facts, get it. I get it. It's hard to resist a great story for clicks. I get it. It's money. I get it. But get both sides of a story, and then you can make an educated determination based on facts, not emotional trigger words like scam or scamming or scammer. The fact of the matter is ADDI members were offered citizenship to Burkina Faso. The key word being ADDI members. The ADDI membership fee is $365 for Americans and the diaspora that's living in Europe. $365. That is $1 per day. For the Caribbean and Africa, it's $100. The $365 membership fee was used to purchase a container full of books and medical supplies to be donated to Burkina Faso. The registration fee you alluded to is $500. Now, if you hop on a plane and you go to, which is your expense, by the way, your plane and your own hotel, ADI is not going to pay for that. That's your expense. But let's say you hopped on a plane and you landed in Burkina Faso. You have to get around, so you know what you're going to do? You're going to rent a car. Well, if you rent a car in Burkina Faso, in Ouagadougou, it's $50 a day. And let's say you rented that car for $50 a day for 10 days. Your total cost would be $500. And good luck finding your way around a French-speaking country. For the same $500, ADDI provides buses for not 10 days, but 14 days. These buses run from early in the morning until midnight. They shuttle our member participants to and from their hotels, to the venues throughout the day and night. Members also receive a backpack with t-shirt, polo shirt, a beret, and a lanyard. It also includes admission into the business showcase and the Pan-African conversations, where dynamic speakers discuss real problems and, more importantly, solutions to the issues affecting our people. These venues, for these events, they cost. In addition to that, there's live entertainment, DJs, pool parties, dinners, etc., all included in that one-time $500 registration fee. Now, as far as Wakanda goes, you need financial support from your people to build anything. Our people are complaining about the $500 registration fee, of which ADDI is in the hole and are seeking out sponsors to make the difference. So let's think about this. And you let me know who's robbing who. This is vicious hit pieces out there on the internet. I am calling on you content creators to retract those vicious attacks on this great woman's character and her outstanding ADI organization. For the record, all of ADDI leadership and volunteers, of which I am one, are volunteers. Obviously, money is not our motivation. Please retract your hit piece. It is counterproductive to achieving the Africa we want. And if we successfully discredit our leaders, shame on you. Who else has been out there advocating for us and educating us about the plight of Black people all over the world? And then, more importantly, organizing us to make a difference. And Ambassador Arikana works tirelessly. Some of you are so quick to tear down one of our own, so quick to tear down someone that's actually building and making a difference and making things happen. Shame on you. And with that, I yield my time back to Sister Judith.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you so much for that. I hear you, and I think the audience hears you as well today. So, with that said, I would really like, Excellency, I don't know if you'd like to do an introduction for our professor as he's about, let me see if he's still on. Yeah, he's still on. So, would you like?
Sisters, before continuing with this conversation, what is going on here in this live streaming? Of course, have already shared some videos about some African YouTubers who are spreading wrong informations about Mama Alikana Chombolikwa. What I want to insist to all of us, let us not turn back those who are educating us. Dr. Rikana Chombolikwa, she's in the front of African liberation. You remember even before the coming of Captain Ibrahim Traore, you remember it is Dr. Rikana Chombolikwa who was in the front line to tell France that stop what you're doing in Francophone countries. But right now we have seen some of our YouTubers, African YouTubers, trying to mislead some information, is trying to spread false information. This is not good. Let us share good news about Africa because by spreading false news and accusing someone of scamming, you are trying to pull him backward or her backward. So the thing that is not okay. So as Africans, we need to energize each other to support one another, and of course, to stand with those who are fighting for this continent. Because for a long time we have seen Dr. Alikana Chiombo speaking on behalf of millions of Africans, whether in the continent or in the diaspora. But recently, there's some few YouTubers who tried to mislead some information, and of course, trying to maybe they didn't understand the truth. Maybe through this video, you will understand the truth. They have tried to accuse, I mean, Marikana Chomboli Kwao that she's coming. And of course, the thing that is not okay. So, as Africans, let us support those who are educating us. Let us support those who are trying to liberate Africans. You know, it's like when you have a dog, when your dog is maybe tied badly, when you go to that place trying to help the dog barking on you, it doesn't understand that you are going to help it. So it is barking to you. The same, that's what is happening. That we have people who are trying to helping us, but we are turning against them. We have seen even Captain Traoré himself. We have seen some Africans accusing him, some Africans saying he's the dictator. But all in all, we who are in the continent, especially those who are conscious. You know, you can be in the continent and see something that is difficult on the ground, but because you are still having colonial mentalities, you are still believing what the West are saying. But all in all, there's no uncle, there's no sister, there's no father, mother in Europe or somewhere else who will come and help us except we Africans. When I'm talking about Africans, I'm including all those who are in the continent, black people, and all Africans, whether brown people, uh, red ones, who are in the continent and those who are in the diaspora. Wherever you were born in Africa or your origin is from Africa, you are an African. So let us join hands. Let us support our leaders like Dr. Alikana Chombolkwao, Captain Traoré, and many others who have decided to sacrifice their lives for the interest of majority of Africans and generation to come and to be born. So families, sharing this purposely for you to understand the reality. Of course, our brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers in the diaspora in America are preparing to go back home in Burkina Faso, but I saw some Africans trying to disappointing them trying to feed them bad names, bad things, for them to stop going to Burkina Faso. But let me tell you, no one will stop us from going back home. Burkina Faso is our home. Africa is our home. We'll go back home. Wherever you will be used by colonialists, wherever you will be used by imperialists, wherever you will be used by those who want to continue exploiting Africa, we don't care. We are Africans and we want to go back home. So let us continue with this conversation. This is a conversation made by ADDI to Africans in the continent and diaspora and clarifying the truth beyond those accusations. And in this conversation, you hear clearly from Dr. Alikana Chiombo. She will speak the truth.
To introduce Professor, or can he go out? I think he needs no introduction for many of us on here, but would you like to say a word or two before he can come on and speak?
Yes, absolutely. Let me just say welcome to everyone. I'm trying to get myself back on video here. I'm trying to get myself in. Okay, there we go.
You're in now.
Yes, I'm in now. Thank you. Yes. Now I need to position my phone so I can see. Okay. Thank you guys for coming. Professor Lumumba, Reverend Maponga, ADDI leadership, members of ADDI, and Friends of Africa, thank you for coming to join us in this very important conversation. Conversations that we're going to talk about who we are as a people. Most of you have been calling Professor Lumumba, you have been calling myself, you have been calling Reverend Maponga, and you were saying, we can't keep talking. We want action. What are you guys going to do? So we got together and the opportunity came to go to Burkina Faso. And we could not have found a better place to come and begin this very important conversation than a country that is actually doing that which we desire. A country that represents what African leadership should look like and must look like and will look like going forward. So we're fortunate that we're going to be going to Burkina Faso as guests of the country, of the government. Yes, we started with citizenship, but this is a country with a government, a country with a parliament, a country whose parliament has decided, let's start with permanent residency. And even that is not something to sneeze at. Where do you go and just waltz in the country and be offered permanent residency? So permanent residency it is. It was the decision of the parliament. We had the ambassador with us week before last, and he explained the process. He explained we started out with citizenship, but last minute our pathway was supposed to be different. Our pathway was supposed to be by presidential decree, but the parliament felt that we should go slow and start with citizenship. It is a permanent residency rather. So it is what it is. We are going to go home to Burkina Faso. We're going to start with citizenship as a pathway, permanent residency as a pathway to citizenship. And those who want to come will come. Those who are supposed to be there will be there. The naysayers with their many accusations about a lie. I don't know why a group of us would meet early hours of the morning to accommodate people in Africa, late hours at night to accommodate people in Africa, just to mess with you, just to score me of $500 when I am putting my own money to add it to ADDI so this event can be a success. And then to do all that and then have people accuse you of scamming them. What a joke. What a joke. My people, you need to wake up. You need to wake up. The facts and the truths are there. The team knows what I go through. the sacrifices I make to make these things happen. Some are even accusing me that I've never met President Traoré. That is all a lie. I never took people to Burkina Faso. That is all a lie. Why are we doing this? And then even those content creators who know very well that have been to Burkina Faso, that we met with the president, that he was grateful for what we did, they too are giving that a blind eye. The question is why? I've always known that among us we have some traitors planted to create wahala, like we call it in Africa, drama. Well, guess what? You guys are going to continue your drama, but we will continue to move on with a few. We understand that the building of the Africa we want is only going to be done by a handful of us. The majority of you are going to remain sambos. And you will continue to be used as instruments of your own self-destruction. Continue on that lane. But the few of us who get it, we will move on. You can continue with your lies. They're not going to change who I am. I know who I am. I know what I stand for. The people who've been with me since I left the AU, they're still with me because they know the truth. They know that there are lots of lies out there. They have worked with me and they know what I go through. For you to even have the opportunity to become a permanent resident of Burkina Faso. How dare you accuse people who work so hard to help you? Shame on you. And I'm sorry to say this, but shame on you. Because I know what these volunteers do. And I know what they go through. And you are spitting in their faces for working for you. On that note, I'm going to introduce you my brother, another Pan-African who speaks the truth, who understands the importance of unity among us as a people. That we don't have to like each other, we don't have to love each other, we don't have to agree all the time, but the conversations must begin. And the conversations must be had in good spirit. A spirit of Pan-Africanism, a spirit that says we are one heart, one mind, one soul, one body, as we come together to build the Africa we want. My brother doesn't need any introduction. You all know him very well. He is an African voice. For years, he's been singularly the voice calling out bad leadership in Africa, demanding that we need better. Please join me, put your hands together, and welcome our icon, our own professor, our own true African leader coming out of West Africa, our very own Professor Lumumba. Professor, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, my sister. I've had the opportunity of listening to those who have spoken before me. And you know, when I listened, it reminded me of a speech made by Martin Luther King Jr. in the difficult days when they were struggling in the liberation of African Americans. Sometimes I feel discouraged. And Luther King said that what made him wonder was the vilification by the very people that he was working for. But then he said a spirit came to him and he only chose to do the right thing. One of the things that we must do for the continent of Africa is to remain in unity, the difficulties notwithstanding. I speak from a place called Swakopmund in Namibia. And this morning, as I was walking and I was alone in the beaches of Swakopmund, and 9 out of 10 people who are walking in the morning were white. And yesterday, as we were driving into Swakopmund, I was told that 70% of the land in Namibia is still in the hands of German whites. That is the state of Africa. And the reason why we remain in that state is because of our disunity. And ours, therefore, is to move from what we have been engaged in for a long time, lamentation, and accusing each other and vilifying each other and undermining each other. So let us ignore the naysayers. Let us ignore those who are still laboring under a low self-esteem, those who still believe that we who are Africans must be hewers of wood and drawers of water. Let us do what we must. It is not going to be a cakewalk. It is not going to be easy. We are going to be called names. We are going to be accused of everything on earth except the crucifixion of Christ. But we must remain dedicated to our agenda. And that agenda, as you've rightly said, my dear sister, is that we don't have to agree on everything. We simply have to identify what our target is. And our target is to ensure that Africans, wherever they are, in the United States of America, in the Caribbean, in Europe, in Australia, in the mother continent, work with one resolve and in unanimity. That is only if we work together that we can achieve what we ought to achieve and begin to do what we need to do for generations of Africa who live now and those yet to be born. So let us surge ahead. Burkina Faso is only the early days of this journey. You will remember we were with you in Ghana, and as it is, things are happening there. And we will move from country to country, from village to village, doing what we must. And in that journey, perhaps out of 10, only 2 will remain. But that is as it should be, because it is not for the faint-hearted. So this evening or this morning, for you who are in the United States of America, what I would urge you is to liberate yourselves from the chains of rumors. There is something that I love about the Rotary Club. I'm not a Rotarian myself, but they have a 4-way test. Is it the truth? Does it benefit? Does it bring goodwill? And I also love Socrates' test. When somebody wants to tell you something about anybody, the first thing you ask, is it true? Number 2, is it beneficial? If you can't pass the 3-way test, don't say it. But unfortunately, it's in the nature of human beings is that they are animated, almost titillated by the lies that are manufactured by those who do not mean well. But ours is to rise above the din of lies and to do what we must. And doing it we will. So I wish you good deliberations in the hope that we will concretize. Those who are well-intentioned will be present in Burkina Faso and thereafter in other African countries, and we will make our contribution in making Africa great as it used to be before we were undermined by the enslavers, the colonizers, and now neocolonizers. I conclude with this. Planted by the neocolonizers for the purpose of torpedoing whatever we are doing. Let us not imagine for one moment that those whom we want to liberate ourselves from are sitting pretty. No, they are not. Knowing that as we do, wisdom not only requires but demands that we are on our guard and that we should not be victims of naivete, believing that everybody is singing hallelujah. Thank you very much and be blessed.
Yes, that is
Thank
Professor
you.
PLO Lumumba. Thanks, Professor, for good explanation. You know, Professor has spoken very well and is a champion of African unity for a long time. So, and he's joining and supporting Mamalikana Chiombolekwao. Professor will be in Ouagadougou by the end of this October. Also, Reverend Joshua Maponga will be there. So this will be a good time for Africans in the continent and Africans in the diaspora to come together to speak with one voice. And this is what we have been waiting for a long time, to see Africans in the continent and to those who are in the diaspora coming together. Of course, not just speaking and enjoying coffee or tea. No, for finding best solutions for our challenges. So let us continue with a conversation, but all in all, keep in your mind that unity is very important for us, the people of Africa. So without unity, nothing will happen. You know, in this October, we know that some of our heroes were assassinated. You remember October, Thomas Isidore Sankara of Burkina Faso was assassinated. Muhammad Ali Gaddafi assassinated October, and you remember Samola Moses Machel assassinated October. So October is like a month to reborn of a new Africa. So, brothers and sisters, let us continue with this powerful conversation from our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, uh, keeping record straight about what is going on concerning about the trip to Burkina Faso. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Professor. Go ahead, Your Excellency.
Here. Let's see. Thank you very much, Professor, for the kind words and the words of wisdom from one of our elders who's been around the block a few times, who understands the games that are played. He understands that we have to stay steadfast because this journey is not for the faint-hearted, as he says. Thank you, Professor Lumumba. We look forward to seeing you in Burkina Faso, where the conversations are going to begin, the conversations about how we move forward as a united front of Africa. Thank you again. I know you have to attend another event. You're currently visiting in Namibia. Enjoy those wonderful beaches and continue to give our best regards to the president of Namibia. We appreciate you. Thank you, Professor, so much.
Thank you very much and be blessed.
Thank you.
Your Excellency, I'm not sure if Reverend Maponga joined on the call, as a panelist on the call. So if you,
I will check and see.
Yeah, he was under another name or something.
He told me he was on standby, but we can move on with the program. I'll send him a message and make sure he's in Botswana. He's currently traveling in Botswana.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. All right. So today,
actually, we have is Sister Esmira. She also wanted to say a few words. Is Sister Esmira on the call?
Sister Esmira, if you're there, can you signal? She may be as an audience member. I hope not. Not that I see her at the moment. Can you please send me a note if you're on here, and we revert back to you. So on that note, since Professor Lumumba has spoken, we want to move into the Pan-African conversations where Ms. Yvonne Katsande and Ms. Tanisha Sefas would go ahead and moderate. So if you want to speak a little bit about the two of them and what they're presenting to us, we would appreciate it. And then Ms. Tanisha and Ms. Yvonne.
Okay. So the program in Burkina Faso is going to be conversations about the topics that are to be discussed while we are in Burkina Faso. We have two very prominent females. One of them is a journalist out of South Africa, LN24. Just to show you the support that we are getting from the community, her station is donating their time, the entire crew. They're flying from South Africa at their own expense to come and cover us. That's what people do when they believe in unity. The entire crew, they're funding their own way to come and cover us for 2 weeks in Burkina Faso. Do you know how much that costs? But they're doing it because they believe in what we can accomplish when we come together. Miss Yvonne Katsande from LN24 out of South Africa is going to be the key moderator. With her is Miss Tanisha Cephas out of Los Angeles. She too, as a volunteer, called up and said, Ambassador, I am answering the call. I am standing up. What can I do? And I said, dear daughter, what can you do? He said, I can help organize with the Pan-African conversations. These are conversations I believe in. These are conversations that must take place. She originally is from the islands. She now lives in LA, but her heart is in Africa. So she too is coming in with years of experience in media. She's going to be working with Yvonne, and the two of them are going to make sure that we have a wonderful panel, wonderful discussions, and come up with resolutions that we can all agree on to say, as we move forward, as we come together to support President Traoré, this is our commitment to them. I'm bringing to you two women who are accomplished, two women who understand Africa. I met Miss Yvonne in Nigeria during one of my trips, and she was amazing. She absolutely impressed me. So when we were getting ready to come to Burkina Faso and talk about the Pan-African conversations, her name stood out really fast. On that note, I want to welcome Miss Yvonne Katsande, journalist out of LN24 South Africa. I'm also wanting you to welcome my daughter, Tanisha Cephas. Both, I have adopted them as my daughters. Very, very powerful women with powerful voices. I want you to know they are going to give you a wonderful experience. They have come up with a program, even me, I couldn't have put it together any better. We're going to be at a beautiful facility with beautiful grounds, and there we are going to make magic happen. The main event is going to be at the Sopatel Hotel, and that hotel used to be a French hotel, but the government has since acquired it. And some of you you're welcome to look it up, but already they are planning on giving us an amazing week of Pan-African conversations. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Miss Yvonne Katsande, born in Zimbabwe, but now residing in South Africa as lead journalist for LN24's South Africa. And after her, I will also introduce Miss Cephas. But for now, Yvonne, my daughter, you have the floor.
Oh, wow. What an amazing introduction, I must say. Absolutely amazing. Now, let me just apologize. You won't be able to see my face for now because I'm actually in studio trying to get ready for a show. But at the same time, I just took time to have this Zoom because it's very important. So you might not be able to see my face for today, so forgive me for that. But thank you so much for such an amazing introduction. I'm so honored. And what Ambassador Arikana said, Her Excellency said, we met in Nigeria and boy, we had a great time. In fact, we just clicked immediately because we were speaking about something that is so dear to our hearts. You know, as a journalist, as an investigative journalist, actually, that's what I do. I cover a lot of African stories, current affairs, political stories that are happening around the world. And I have so much passion in reporting African stories as an African who actually lives in Africa. I was listening to the opening remarks, and the lady who spoke actually say that, there's some sort of like misrepresentation of who we are as Africans. And I have felt that for the longest time when I listen to some news reports, I listen to some, documentaries that are put together. And I think to myself, these are really stupid reports. People that are not even thinking, people that don't even have information on anything. So I'm really happy to be a part of this so that I can report accurately on what is happening in Africa and the work and the effort that each and every person is putting there. People have to know our story. After all, we are the new gold. We are the richest people right now. I mean, Europe is so well spent and they all want Africa. So this is really our time to shine. So thank you so much for this great opportunity. I must say that I'm standing on all existing protocol. And thank you to everybody who's a part of this. I heard that we've got volunteers from different parts of the world that are going to make this a success. So this is absolutely beautiful. I'll brief you on what to expect in Burkina Faso. Now, the program is vast. The conversations are going to be so amazing and engaging at the same time. It's something that you really want to hear and participate fully. We'll have our Q&As, we'll have our plenary sessions, we'll also have our entertainment from Africa that will be there. But we have an amazing team, and the conversation is just going to be so amazing. And one of the outstanding points of this Africa conversation that we're going to be talking about is the revival of the Pan-African vision. I heard Her Excellency Ambassador Arikana saying that people have called them to say, okay, fine, you've been speaking, but what is the action plan? And I guess that's what we are all looking forward to. And this is the beginning of the action plan. So I'll just brief you and take you through, and Tanisha will also do some of the other points. But I wanted to highlight that we have conversations that speak about the unfulfilled Pan-African dream. And we're going to have a 1963 presentation, the vision of 1963, that's going to be briefed to you. And then we're going to have those kind of conversations and we're going to break it down. We're going to be speaking about the need for a Pan-African conversation. Why are we having conversations as such? I feel that conversations like these should never ever stop to exist because, we have a Gen Z that also I feel history has been lost along the way, misinterpreted along the way, and they might not really understand where Africa is coming from and the vision that we hold in this present time. So it's important that we continue with such conversations so that people are well informed and people are knowledgeable about the continent of Africa. Even if we're talking about business, we're talking about human angle stories, we're talking about social development and cultural development. It's very important. I was reading a story on something that happened in Nigeria. I think it was the British that partnered with the Nigerian government to have culture and arts exchange. But the culture and arts exchange, I was asking, I said, can you give us the details, the finer details? I always like to hear the finer details of things because, it's in that fine print where usually the scams happen. So I asked, I said, can we have the finer details of what this exchange program actually details? Trust me, it was really nothing to do with culture and arts. The agenda was way beyond culture and arts, but it was being presented as though there's going to be cultural exchange and arts exchange. And I feel, these are some of the hidden wars that Africa is fighting against either the globalists, the shadow governments that want to infiltrate and take over Africa. So that's why we need to continue with this Pan-African conversation. In that Pan-African conversation, we have different categories that we're going to speak on. We're going to talk about the African history. We're going to talk about the pivotal historical moments, the role of missionaries and religion, which actually plays a big part in our world today. Religion is even being weaponized. If you look at what is happening in the UK, look at what is happening in the whole of Europe, religion is being weaponized. And even in some parts of Africa, West Africa to be specific, religion is being weaponized. But we need to understand the role of missionaries and religion in Africa. So that's another conversation that you can actually look forward to. And it's really broken down into vast areas. We're going to talk about exploitation. We're going to talk about the United States of Africa. We're even going to talk about a currency of Africa. I really look forward to that. You know, a bank, when Her Excellency was telling me about an African bank, I said, my goodness, we've been looking forward to this for the longest time. But the conference is going to be broken down into 5 days. So just on the screen here, what you're looking at is a presentation that Tanisha put together for us. So, Tanisha, can you maybe move to the parts that I'm actually supposed to do? Okay. So the day two, actually, I'm gonna be doing day two. So Tanisha will take you through day one. The day two is going to be every other day. Actually, is full of good conversations. I just gave you a brief of some of them, and that's just a small part of it. We've got a whole lot more that we're going to be speaking about. But let me just give you how each day would look like in terms of the conversations that we're going to be having. For example, we're going to explore the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885 and the artificial borders it actually created. Borders that have even caused problems for us in Africa right now. You know, some of the part of the conversation can be even what was happening between the DRC and Rwanda. Who drew those borders? Now we have the rebels that are attacking people in the Democratic of Congo because they're fighting for, you know, the borders. They're saying that we belong to this place. This is our place. But, you know, there's also a fight for resources. How then do we actually resolve such issues? This conflict has been ongoing for years. But how do we resolve such issues? Because it only hurts Africa. And this is a place where it's so rich in minerals, but because of the borders that were created by former colonialists, Africans have never been able to resolve some of the issues that they're facing right now. And yet we can. So we need to speak about that. We need to have that conversation. You also look forward to analyzing the political coups and the systematic disappointment of African leaders. I think, in my opinion, when we were in Nigeria, in actual fact, Her Excellency actually spoke about what is the definition of a coup and what is the definition of democracy. You remember, Her Excellency, when we spoke about that? For example,
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. We go to Burkina Faso. Time without number, because I interview very prominent political leaders across the globe, Europeans, Americans, Africans alike. I've spoken to EU Parliament members. I've spoken to, you know, people in different high places. I asked them, I said, when you look at Burkina Faso, why do you call them a junta government? Because the people in Burkina Faso don't think that they're being run by a junta government. And who came up with the name junta government anyway? So what is the meaning of a coup and what is the meaning of democracy? We need to differentiate between those, because I don't see people in Burkina Faso complaining. If anything, I heard that citizens in Burkina Faso, I'm actually looking forward to seeing this. Citizens in Burkina Faso are actually protecting the presidential palace. They sleep there to protect their leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. I had an opportunity to meet him in Russia when we had the Russia-Africa Summit, and that was in 2023. A very decent man, actually. And people love him. He is building his country. But you continue to say it's a junta government. But who determines what a junta government is? So this is part of the conversation. We'll also have a discussion on the lingering effects of the neocolonial structures and the foreign interference. One of the biggest problems we have in Africa. Foreign interference in our elections, foreign interference in our policies, foreign interference even in our food. Right now, we are fighting GMOs. GMOs have caused cancer, they have caused problems, you know, interference in our medical facilities and our medical care when they determine what kind of vaccines we're supposed to take, what kind of medication we're supposed to take, all these things. You know, we learned that US aid was even part of the problem that we were facing. That's what other people say. Other people actually defend it. But we need to have that kind of conversation where we know what we need as Africa. Can we not create our own systems? Even if we're going to have banks that loan us monies, can we not maybe look at our own banks? Are we not able to look at our own currency? How can we fix our own borders? Can we look inward? Because I think looking inward for Africa is one of the biggest drives and action points that we're actually supposed to look at. Looking inward, how do we do it without having to rely on the International Monetary Fund? How do we do it without having to rely on the World Bank? So that's part of the conversation. On day 4, you're also going to look forward to a very amazing conversation. Imagine by the time we get to day 4, wow, would have really escalated the conversations, right? We're going to talk about rebuilding the African narrative through media ownership and cultural production. When Her Excellency told me that we're starting our own Africa media, I said, you can count me on that one. Without even asking, I'm a part of it. The misrepresentation and the narrative that has been created by the so-called media talking heads, this is the so-called mainstream media, the amount of lies that they have told to the people. And you know, media plays a very vital role. Wars were started by media. Even if you look at World War I, World War II, media was very pivotal. So we need, media that is transparent, media that doesn't misrepresent our own African leaders that are trying to do something good for us. Media that doesn't just talk about corruption in Africa, hunger in Africa, this in Africa. Corruption is everywhere, literally, if you ask me. So we need our own media house, our own media structure that would then promote that. So I'm really looking forward also to that, conversation. We're going to talk about promoting education rooted in African history and innovation. I remember also when we were in Nigeria, I said that why can't we have our own tech hub in Africa, just like we also have a tech hub in America? Because a lot of the people that are actually going to America to do this technology come from Africa. So we could do that. So that also speaks to us looking inward in Africa. And we're going to address the psychological liberation and the importance of unity across the diaspora. So these are some of the conversations that we're going to expect. And then I think day 5 is the last day. This is the grand finale in actual fact. And so the grand finale is going to be amazing. We're looking forward to that. We're going to draft a collective resolution to actually support Africa's independence movements. And then we're going to have support Sahel region nations resisting foreign control. I 100% support them. So here's the question that I normally would ask as a journalist. If we say that we can't operate in a vacuum, to some extent, I suppose, but if you say that we can't work without all these international, organizations and funding, then how is the Sahel trio doing it? They've literally chased out all foreign interference in their countries. They're controlling their resources. They're controlling their industry. They're controlling their own citizens, their own policies. And they're succeeding at it. And they're succeeding so much so over countries that have been in existence for so long and that are riddled with so much international interference. They're doing it. So that is a very good example. The Sahel trio is the most important and realistic example that Africa can actually learn from. So we're going to have that conversation. It's very important. I think we're going to have a representation from the Burkina Faso political and policy makers. So they'll also help us, to have that discussion, which is going to be a very important one. And then we'll have our launch initiatives and the Pan-African Cooperation, Business, Education, and Technology Networks. That is a call to action, but that's already an action plan. That's already an action plan. So by the time we leave Burkina Faso, we already have action, and everybody will leave there with, what they're supposed to focus on, what they're supposed to do. So it's really, really going to be entirely up to us when we finish this conference that we've discussed, we've put together the action plans. So how are we each going to execute it? We have to be the ones to do it so that everybody else can follow. So these are part of the conversations that we can look forward to. That final call to action, which falls on day 5. But all the other conversations are going to be amazing. Like I said to you, we also have a lineup of entertainment from Africa for you. We have poets, we have dancers, we have a whole lot of things. We have the plenary sessions, the discussions, the Q&A. So it's just going to be absolutely amazing. I could go on and on because this is how excited I am about this conference. I really look forward to it. But I'll hand over to my colleague here, Tanisha, so that she can also take you through parts of the other stuff that we're going to be going through. Thank you so much, ma'am.
On that note, Thank you, dear daughter. Appreciate you for the kind words. And like I told you, they are putting together an amazing, amazing program for us. That was my dear daughter, Yvonne Katsande, an amazing journalist, an amazing woman. You're getting ready to hear from yet another amazing woman, another Pan-African who also coming all the way from the Caribbean, but now living in LA, who's also just as committed, just as dedicated, and believes in Pan-Africanism, believes in us coming together. She too is going to be leading you as we go home to Burkina Faso to engage in these very important conversations about our unity. United we stand, divided we fall. I hope we can all keep that in mind. We don't have to love each other. We don't have to like each other, but we must understand we're riding this Titanic that has holes and it is leaking and it is sinking. It doesn't matter if you change seats in a sinking Titanic. We're all going down. That should be the mentality. We are all going down. We've been going down for so long. The question is how long? You want to leave this world going down in a sinking Titanic for your children, for your grandchildren, because you choose to continue to be manipulated, to be lied to be given their own narrative. And like I always say, to be used as an instrument of your own self-destruction. The choice is yours. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, welcome my daughter, Tanisha Cephas, all the way from Los Angeles via the Caribbean. Tanisha, my dear daughter, you have the floor.
Good morning, all. Thank you so much, Dr. Arikana Chihambori. All protocols observed. Thank you so much, Yvonne. I look forward to meeting you in Burkina Faso. We are going to have an amazing time. I want you guys to know I have been a member of ADDI since February 2020. That's how long I've been a part of this organization, following the leadership of Dr. Arikana. And I just want to say, you guys have an amazing leader, a woman who has the vision. You know the saying, many are called, few are chosen. And she is one of the chosen. And she is helping us lead the way back to our homeland, where we were stolen from. I was born in the Caribbean island of Trinidad and Tobago. And Caribbean people, we love Africa. We long to go back to Africa. And so I have always been excited at the fact that one day Africa, the motherland where my ancestors came from, would be my home. It would be the home for my children and their children, and they would go back and be able to rejoin with the Africans living on the motherland. And so I am so thankful that Dr. Arikana, who I now call my mama, my adopted mom, I am so proud of her leadership and her call, her vision for us to go back to Africa, reimagine what a new Africa could look like. My background, I've been in entertainment for almost going on 3 decades. I started as an actress, and I remember being a part of the movie Black Panther. I was one of the original Border Tribe warriors, Wakanda forever. And when I reimagine what Africa can be, it takes me back to being on set of Black Panther and seeing the work that Ryan Coogler put in for us to reimagine what an Africa that is not colonized could look like, the power that we have. Yes, he used the symbol of the vibranium, but we have all these natural resources in our uranium, in our gold, in our diamonds, so much of our natural earth mineral that is being extracted and that we have been pretty much abused and has been unfair. And so now the Sahel nations have come together and said, no more, no more. And so we support them. We are so excited about this Pan-African conference, our conversations. Our first day, we are going to talk about Africa before colonization, pre-colony glory, and cultural destruction. I'm a storyteller, so I'm going to give you a little background on our pre-colonization. Before colonization, Africa was not a land waiting to be discovered. It was a continent filled with thriving civilizations, organized governments, and vibrant cultures. From Kemet in ancient Egypt and Nubia in the north to Mali and the Shanghai empires in the west and the kingdoms of Congo, Benin, and the great Zimbabwe further south. Africa was home to innovation, scholarship, and global trade along before European contact. Our ancestors had systems of governance rooted in unity, accountability, and community. Kings, queens, and councils of elders ruled with wisdom and spiritual guidance. Justice emphasized restoration and balance, not punishment. We had education systems like the University of Timbuktu, where scholars studied astronomy, law, and medicine. We had economies built on gold, salt, textiles, and craftsmanship that connected Africa with the Middle East and Asia through vast trade networks. Art, architecture, and music flourished, not just as culture, but as storytelling and identity. Every kingdom had its own structure, beliefs, and technologies suited to its people and environment. So when we talk about Africa before colonization, we must remember that we were not primitive, we were powerful, prosperous, and purposeful. Recognizing this history allows us to reclaim our narrative, honor our ancestors, and continue building the Africa they envisioned, united, advanced, and self-sustaining. So on day one, we're going to celebrate Africa's ancient kingdoms, our trade routes, the government systems. We're going to talk about them. We're going to examine how colonization dismantled African education, economies, and identities, and highlight lessons from the Mali Empire, Benin, Congo, and the Great Zimbabwe. On day three, it doesn't stop there. On day three, we are going to go over our economic enslavement and what that economic enslavement has done to our people. We're going to trace the evolution from physical slavery to modern financial dependency. We're also going to examine resource exploitation, debt traps, and trade imbalances. We are also going to discuss paths to economic sovereignty, industrialization, the Afro and Pan-African trade. After centuries of self-sustaining kingdoms and trade systems, Africa entered one of the darkest chapters in history, economic enslavement. This period didn't just involve the physical enslavement of people, it was the systemic stripping of Africa's wealth, labor, and independence. The transatlantic slave trade turned human beings into commodities, traded for weapons, sugar, gun, and rum. Generations of Africans were stolen, not only from their land, but from their economies, their culture, and their future. Europe and the Americas built immense wealth on African labor, while the continent itself was left impoverished. And even after the abolition of slavery, economic enslavement continued through colonial taxation, forced labor, and trade manipulation. Colonizers extracted gold, rubber, cocoa, and oil and resources that still drive global wealth today. And what they did, they left behind dependence, poverty, and debt. This system evolved into modern economic control, unfair trade policies, resource exploitation, the international debt traps. Many African nations still struggle against economic structures designed to benefit others. Economic enslavement wasn't only about chains, it was about control. And today, breaking those invisible chains means reclaiming Africa's resource, rewriting trade relationships, and investing in ourselves once again. Slavery ended on paper, but economic enslavement continues wherever Africa's wealth is not in Africa's hands. And so Africa must reclaim its history, resource, and future. Together we rise, united in purpose, grounded in truth and driven by legacy. The ADDI goal is advancing the African dream through unity and development. This is a revolutionary moment for Africa. The Sahel nations have broken the change. Now the rest of Africa must rise. The Pan-African conversation is not just another conference, it's the beginning of a movement. And so we look forward to all of you guys joining us in Burkina Faso. Again, many are called, but few are chosen. I yield.
Yes, thanks, brothers and
Thank you again,
sisters,
dear
for
daughter.
watching. This is one of the powerful conversation, as you heard. But all in all, we are still struggling to attain economic independence. So what we are doing here is to try to mobilize ourselves as Africans to attain economic independence. I know some of us are being used for self-destruction. I've seen many Africans being used, even some of our ministers are being in the payroll of Western agencies to make sure that Africa remain the supplier of wealth. Africa remain in the situation that we have today. Because if Africans or Africa as a whole continent will wake up, the rest will become poor. Because all those things that you see outside there, many of them are made by African resources. So they're trying to make sure that Africa remain in this situation, and they use some of our Africans, and that's why you see they use leaders such as Mobutu Sese Seko to grab Democratic Republic of Congo, to assassinate Patrice Emery Lumumba. They use people such as Blaise Compaoré of Burkina Faso to assassinate President Captain Isidore Thomas Sankara. They use groups in Africa, for instance, in Libya, to make sure that Africans with visionary ideas like Gaddafi are not existing. So the question here, are we prepared to protect Captain Ibrahim Traoré? And this is the question that we need to ask ourselves as Africans, because for a long time they have been taking out our prophets, our leaders, our heroes. So this time, let us not allow these people to take out our heroes, because they use Black people like me, they use people who are within the government, people who are Africans, who looks like us, to make sure that they fulfill their mission. And one of the mission is for them to continue controlling our natural resources. So, dear lovely family, brothers and sisters, up to now, let me end this conversation for today. We'll continue for next day about awakening of Africans. So we'll share more conversation from Pan-Africanist in the continent, in the diaspora, to make sure that we Africans, we have a common understanding. You know, we have different curriculums in our school, so we have different understanding. So we Africans, we need to find a common ground where we can have a common vision. The way we see the Jews, the way we see Indians, the Chinese, if you listen the Chinese, you see they have common vision. But when you come to Africans, we have different understanding. Even those who are in Africa, they don't know about Africa. And that's why you find that we are living in the richest continent, but we don't know how to add value to our resources. While those who don't have resources like us, they know how to operate or how to add value to our resources. But we who own these resources, we know nothing. It's because we don't have a common understanding. So thanks to all of you who have been watching. Thank you to all who have commented, who have supported this movement, this revolution. This is the journey, not for the fainted heart people. This is the journey for strong men and women of our mother continent. Yes, it will take a time to see the output of this, what we are doing, but the time will come when Africans will wake up. And the history will say Africans, they did this to make sure that things on the ground has occurred. What we want is to build the Africa that all of us we want, the Africa that Africans own resources, control the economy. That's the Africa that we are dreaming about. Yes, we know politically sometimes we differ, but let us, when it comes to important issues concerning about our mother continent, let us come together. Let us unite. Let us speak with one voice. Of that, let me salute you, all of you who have been watching, and those who are still with us up to now. Thank you. Have a nice time.